Chapter 45. Isla wanted to stay close to the hotel so she didn't miss a minute with Steve once he finished work. He'd responded to her text straight away, but at 75 pence per text, she wasn't well-heeled enough to be sending too many affectionate prompts by phone. Regardless of money, she knew Steve would be consumed with his own business and wasn't ready to play the role of the fawning woman waiting for her man to find time for her. Last night it ended up being a late one as Sally pulled rank and kept her at the bar long into the night. She wanted the scoop about why Isla was so happy and who the bloke was. It wasn't until Isla got back to the privacy of her bedroom well into the early hours that she finally allowed her emotions out, jumping onto the bed, banging her arms and legs like a child having a tantrum. But instead of the despair felt the previous time she'd walked away from Steve, this time it was rapturous celebration. Isla had one of the new Creative Labs MP3 players which could store hundreds of tunes. She'd developed a far greater interest in music and had a playlist ready for any mood. As she looked out the sixth-floor window across the New York night sky to the skyscrapers around Wall Street, she plugged her headphones in and put on the song that had been nagging at her all night. I, them tell me you hugging up a big monkey man. Good old Toots Hibbert. These familiar sounds of the Caribbean followed her around the world, but tonight she was shattered and anything more than one song was wasted on her tired soul. Some hours later she awoke in the chair she'd sat down in. Despite being in her clothes and sitting upright, she'd ended up sleeping far longer than usual for her first night away. Keen to pretend she wasn't going to spend the day waiting for Steve to come back, she made plans to hide away for the day somewhere quiet, where she would not be disturbed by the world. The Quad Cinema showed films Isla wouldn't ordinarily get to see. It was dark in there, and nobody would bother her, giving her both the time to rest and unapologetically kill the day, with the added bonus of looking cultured as opposed to appearing to be a saddo with nothing to do. It was mid-afternoon when she came out, squinting at the sunlight enveloping her. While she was dozing through the film, Steve had messaged. Isla was glad of the delay in receiving the message, otherwise she'd have responded instantly. Hey Isla, 5 okay? Hotel bar? XX? Absolutely. See you then. X. She didn't obsess about how many kisses to leave. This was straightforward. By the look of the darkening skies, one of New York's flash storms was approaching. She was excited and wanted to take it easy with a long bath and a glass of wine before ambling down to the bar in time for 5. She was ready by 4. She arrived in the bar just in time to see Steve sliding across the foyer like an ice skater. He was right on cue for her to order the first drinks, but soaked from the rainstorm and looked like an extra from a cheesy 80s pop video. He started to pant his apologies. Couldn't get a cab. Had to run in the pissing rain. He leant against the bar, exhausted, a hot, steaming, bedraggled mess. Sally might change her mind if she saw him now. Need to get changed. Do you mind waiting? So sorry. He continued to pant out his few words whilst trying to catch his breath after his long run through the Manhattan rush hour. Grabbing a jug of water from the edge of the bar, he poured a long glass and downed it in one. Given her colleagues were likely to appear at any time, Isla saw this bedraggled state as a feeble excuse to relocate. Rather than order down here, Isla offered to come with him and keep him company while he got ready, in his room, once again. The sky had now cleared, and Isla took her seat in the window while Steve made use of the facilities. It's really unfair you getting these good rooms all the time. She gave up on conversation because Steve couldn't hear her. There was nothing to do but scan Manhattan Island, the sun having started its slow descent in the west. As he emerged from his shower, wrapped in just a towel, it would have been considered polite for Isla to look away. But she'd seen enough of New York from this angle, and she cheekily followed her base instincts and ogled the hell out of him. Although she'd never seen him topless, there had been many times she'd imagined it, and quickly gave up the pretense that she was not looking. Sitting back to take in the full view of Steve, picking up his clothes with one hand and holding the towel around his waist with the other, she was making a huge effort not to jump on him. To hell with the rules. Stop it, Isla. All good things. Isla could see Steve noticing her, watching his simple efforts to retain his dignity. The humour of the situation aside, she was relieved that there were no ghastly tattoos of permanent dedication to Greta or any of his bands. He didn't hurry to look up from the towel drying of his hair, but when he didn't look towards Isla, she didn't look away. Instead, she moved towards his partially covered body and kissed him with passion, careful to not make a lovely situation awkward. She turned back to the outside view. It was a beautiful evening with the city now clear of the earliest stormy haze. We've done enough serious for now, haven't we, Steve? Can we go and have fun on our first date tonight? Let's go back to the village and I'll show you where I like karaoke. Sounds great. What are you going to sing, and what is the first date business? Does the past not count anymore? I've been thinking about it and I'm undecided, so let's treat it like a first date. Let's just say that the past is practice. As for the singing, just wait and see. But I need to eat something soon, and then we'll see if you want to sign Hertfordshire's hottest new female singer. Wicked Willies it is then. Got to tell you though, karaoke is anti-music, and before you start shouting at me, a lot of people I spend time with love to show off. Most of them are god-awful, bearable at best, but they believe that they could have made it, and it's normal for me to be still watching the massacre of great songs at 2 or 3 in the morning. As a result, I'm no stranger to it and can belt out my own version of Lost Weekend or Boys Don't Cry if I'm forced to, that is. Forced to? You can't be forced to sing karaoke. Don't kid me, Lewis, you love it. In no time, they were walking down Bleecker Street after a 4-year break. Did you speak to Amy today? Absolutely. Well, kind of. She's too young to have much conversation, but I try to speak to her every day. I check in just to tell her I love her. It's the least I can do when I'm away so much. Isla was really asking whether he'd spoken to Greta. Greta didn't even say hello. She passed the phone to Amy and walked away. There was no point in forcing conversation. But Isla, you may have my word that the moment I'm home, this gets sorted. I trust you, Steve. With the entertainment, if that was the right word, not starting until 8:30, they wandered back to the same restaurant where their friendship had started years before. It's nice to be back here, considering everything. I think you're right. The past was just a bit of practice, and this is really our start. They both nodded in violent agreement. Like the first time when they'd eaten in the fabulous Italian, the ease of their chatter gave the impression that they'd known each other forever, and this was another of numerous meetings across many years. Steve opened his heart about Amy. He recounted her bedtime stories and the voices that went with them. His devotion to his little girl was obvious. Steve didn't do anything by halves, and his parental bona fides were clear from the dedicated, kind and affectionate way he spoke about his daughter. He was even kind in his nice description of Greta, even though she sounded like a nightmare. A nice touch. Isla was itching to sing, so they went back to the half-empty karaoke bar full of students and tourists, all waiting for their turn to show off. Technical problems were holding things up, and with the start time becoming more and more vague, the irritated audience had already started to leave in search of an alternative venue. These problems weren't going to be resolved tonight. Steve could sense Isla's disappointment. She wasn't good at hiding her emotions. She'd drunk enough alcohol that her confidence level was just right to knock out her songs uninhibited by suppressed nerves. Against all his better music-loving instincts, he suggested they give up in Willie's and move on somewhere different. This is New York. We'll find a place in no time, and you can finally show me what you've got. They walked hand in hand towards Midtown Manhattan and the massive bars that lined the busy streets. It was nearly 10 o'clock, and the clouds above the city were massing together in advance of another late summer storm. As the first spots of rain fell, they could both see that the weather was winning in their battles to find an active karaoke bar. They'd drawn a blank. With Isla's shuttle arriving at 5 in the morning and Steve due downtown to meet with Jared nice and early, time had beaten them. For now, they stood under the canopy covering the entrance of one of the nearby buildings and held each other tight. Steve wished that he could phone up Greta right now and end the relationship. But that would be a spineless, awful way to do things. Isla wished Steve would phone Greta up right away and finish whatever it was he was ending, but she knew it was not the mark Steve left on things. She admired him for doing things the right way. He could have carried out a quick execution of the obstacle so that they could progress things onto the bedroom. Instead, they just kissed, and after a squeeze of her hand, Steve hailed a taxi. The rain was falling hard now and wasn't stopping any time soon, slowing the traffic to a crawl. They chatted about the days between now and when they would meet again, which translated into a manic chat about everything Steve needed to do over the next few days, while Isla focused on seeing her parents on Wednesday, reminding herself in the process about the present for her mum at JFK. They wandered into the foyer, instinctively heading towards the bar for one last drink. It was busy. None of Isla's colleagues were in the bar. Aside from the alcohol curfew all flight staff had to honour, they had to be ready for a long day's work in just 7 hours. One final drink in the bar. Or should we raid the minibar in my room? Steve was frantically clutching at straws to extend the night. While neither of them wanted the evening to end, they were both knackered and it was time to play at being grown-ups. For now, they couldn't just be headstrong kids who'd fall into affectionate lust with each other. I think we know what we want, but we need to call it a night. Wake me up? If I drink any more, I'll be in trouble tomorrow. Steve smiled, another trip to his bedroom without happy ending. But that was okay. It wouldn't be this way for long. They'd already arranged their next date for when they were both next in London, Monday the 24th, for 3 whole days. I promise you, Isla, by the time we see each other again, I'll have sorted my life out. Can I take you to dinner as soon as you've had enough energy to enjoy it? I want to see a lot more of you. You're an incredible woman, and I feel things when I'm with you that I've never experienced before. I'm so excited. She threw herself into Steve's arms and held him. He landed a final kiss on her, and they said goodnight. She couldn't go straight to bed. The pre-flight routine where she sorted her stuff for the journey home had to be done before she went to sleep, just in case she overslept. That shuttle bus would not wait for her, and there were serious consequences if someone missed it. Having packed and tidied up, she instantly flopped onto the bed with the grandest of smiles. She lay there, her arms wrapped around her neck, imagining they were his. Imagining he was there. There was now a calm about her feelings towards Steve. She was confident that they had a future. Within moments, she was asleep.